Hello and welcome back to my channel. This is Dr. Chelsea, and in this video I just wanted to share what my experience was like completing a psychology postdoc. So I moved to Atlanta from Tennessee, and my postdoc was mostly psychological evaluations. So it was at a group practice, and when I started, they eased me in to doing evaluations. So there was maybe one or two that I observed, and then they had me be observed myself, doing like the interview process and administering the measures to people. And so the main referrals that we got at that group practice was from the Department of Children and Family Services and the Department of Juvenile Justice. So I was doing evaluations with kids, teens, adults. It was just a wide range of ages. And then the different types of evaluations that I did was like general diagnostic clarification type of evaluation. So for the kids, it was mostly like the general psych evals that I was doing. I would have the interview with the child and then administer the measures to them, score the measures myself, and write up the reports for them. And I was always assigned a case that was under one of the psychologists. So they would be like a supervisor over the case. And there were at least 5 different psychologists when I started out with the postdoc. So I wasn't just doing cases for one psychologist. It would be any one of them, and they would be the supervisor over it. And so they would do the interview with the parent if I was doing a child case, and then I would do the interview with the child and then everything else after that. And for the adult evaluations, I would just interview them myself, do all the measures, score it, write up the report. I never did the feedback sessions for them, though that was done by the supervisors. But the other kind of evaluations I did was like ADHD evaluations and autism evaluations. We also did attachment and bonding assessments for DFACS, which is what they call the Department of Children and Family Services. So for those, it was usually in cases where maybe they were considering returning the child back into the care of their parent, and cases where a child will be placed into a new foster home or continue in a foster home that they were in. And so the purpose would be for me to observe how the parent and the child interacted with each other, and then I would administer measures to the parent, the prospective parent, about like their views on parenting, and it would look for any kind of problematic parenting beliefs, attitudes towards parenting. It will also include like judgment of parenting decisions that they make, so how well they are making decisions as a parent, to essentially look at their fitness. So there was like parental fitness evaluations that I did where I would be looking at their judgment as parents, and it will also assess like what does their living situation look like, what does the parent's mental health status look like. And so that is the kind of evaluations that I would do there. And so it would be those 4 main types of evaluations. So general evaluations, attachment and bonding, which was from DFACS, the parental fitness ones, which were also from DFACS, because they were wanting to see if the child could be returned back into the care of the parent that they were separated from. And then for the Department of Juvenile Justice, I would sometimes go to the detention center and do the evaluation there with the adolescent that was there, and it would just be a regular psychological evaluation for them. And then other times, minimally, they would come into the office and I would do the evaluation with them there. But outside of what I was doing with the client, I would have to attend group supervision meetings, and so it would be me, the other postdoc, and the practicum students. We will all do a group supervision meeting, and it was mostly like a teaching type of meeting. It wasn't really like you raise the case that you have and you get feedback on it. So it was usually different topics that they focused on, like report writing, or if you were to be called into court, or something like that. And when it came to what I did in my own personal supervision, I usually focused on getting information about how to start a private practice and run a private practice. And so I really, I chose a place for that specific reason, because I wanted to learn how to be able to start my own practice once I left. And my supervisor was really good about like sharing things that he did and things to consider, and maybe even like softwares to use, or like things that were simple, like how to pay your taxes as someone who is an independent practitioner and you have a business where you're a sole proprietor, and things like that. And so I found my supervision with him to be really helpful. And I didn't really have a lot of supervision with the other psychologists. If I had a question about the report, then I could, or the case that I had been working on for them, I could go to them for a supervision meeting. But I was usually just meeting with my supervisor every week, and then I would have the group supervision meetings. And so overall, I think it was a good training experience. I'm focusing specifically on the training that I got. It helped me to be exposed to different kinds of evaluations, more specifically like the parental fitness type, and attachment and bonding, as well as autism evaluations, because I hadn't done any of those before. And I really wanted to get a lot of psych eval experience, because I knew I wanted to do that in my career. And so that was pretty much the gist of how my postdoc experience went. I had to do about an hour drive there and back, and just trying to keep up with the caseload became a lot, because it was like a turnaround time of like 1 week to 2 weeks for the reports that I had to do. And so I got to a point where I was procrastinating, I was getting burnt out, and the reports just piled up. But the good thing was that they had a tracking sheet that we were supposed to use. And so I kept track of every case that I had, when I saw them, the date, as well as the expected turn-in date for the report, because they always track that. The supervisors had access to it, so they could see, how long it takes you to write the report and when do you expect to get back to me. So I would keep track of all of my cases that way, so it helped to be organized. And the other thing that I liked is that they had a template for reports to use, and so that kind of shortened the time for report writing, and I found that to be very efficient. And it was something that I decided to do for myself in practice, having a evaluation template. So I really appreciated those things. Those were the things that I took away with me, just to make the report writing more efficient. And so I appreciated that about my training experience, and I think that that's pretty much what is important to share there. Overall, I would say that if someone did want to go to the site that I went to, feel free to reach out to me and get a little bit more of my personal experience there. So I'm just giving my experience as a trainee in general, and just focusing objectively on my experience there. But if you want to know what it was like for me there personally, I'm more than willing to answer that. I did have someone who reached out to me on Instagram, and they asked what my experience was like working there, and I was honest. So if you have any questions for me in regards to the postdoc experience, and I don't know what kind of questions you would have, but if you have any questions, feel free to ask them. You can hit me up on Instagram. And if you have any kind of suggestions or things that you're wondering about that you want me to speak about in terms of my career in terms of what I'm doing in the field now, feel free to ask them down below. I am going to be sharing how I studied for licensure as a psychologist. So the next few videos that you're gonna see is me walking through the process of getting licensed in the state of Georgia and the preparation that I did to study and take as well as pass all of the psychologist licensing exams here in the state of Georgia. So if you found this video to be helpful, give it a like. You can share, subscribe to the channel, and turn on those notification bells to know when the next video drops. And I will see y'all in the next one. Bye.